plane carrying Jungkook and Jimin slowly began to descend in altitude, a sign that they were close to landing in Japan. Inside the cabin, the atmosphere was calm but full of a little enthusiasm that only the two of them could feel. The seatbelt lights were already on, and the flight attendant's voice sounded softly announcing that the plane would soon arrive at the destination airport. In their seats, Jungkook turned toward the window, gazing at the thinning cloud cover and the dim silhouette of the Japanese mainland in the distance. "Hyung, we're almost there," Jungkook said in a low but excited voice. Her eyes sparkled, as if every trip to Japan always brought a special feeling to her. Jimin, who was sitting next to him, smiled broadly, then nodded slightly. "Yes, it feels very fast." It was still above the sea. "Now the land is visible," he replied, tilting his body slightly to look out the window. Both looked relaxed, although the long journey from Korea made their bodies a little tired. Jungkook stretched his shoulders, then chuckled as Jimin patted his arm. "You look very happy," Jimin teased. Jungkook nodded without hesitation. "I don't know, every time I go to Japan, it's always fun. Maybe because the fans there are always warm, or because the food is delicious," he said with a chuckle. Jimin laughed slowly, then leaned back briefly on the back of the chair. He closed his eyes for a moment, as if enjoying a moment of calm before the plane actually landed and the busy schedule began again. "I'm happy too. It feels like coming home to a familiar place, even though this is not our home," he said in a soft tone around them. Several other passengers seemed to be busy clearing their small luggage. The sound of a suitcase being pulled from the upper compartment, the click of a tightened seatbelt, and a small sigh of relief mixed into a simple but warm background. Jungkook glanced at Jimin again, then said, "Hyung, after this we'll practice right away, right?" Jimin is pissed. "Yes, but I hope there is still time to eat ramen first. I've been thinking about it." That made Jungkook laugh even harder. "We always think of food every time we come to Japan," he said, shaking his head slightly. Jimin smiled broadly, his eyes narrowed happily. "That's part of the journey, Jungkook-ah," he replied. The aircraft again shook lightly as it began to enter the final approach path. Jungkook reflexively grasped the back of the chair, then took a deep breath. He turned to Jimin with an enthusiastic expression that was hard to hide. "It feels like starting something new again," he said. Jimin nodded in agreement. "Every landing always feels like a new chapter. Although we have been here many times, the feeling remains the same." The two of them were silent for a moment, enjoying the view outside the window. The light of the afternoon sun reflected off the wings of the plane, and the city below was more and more clearly visible. Jungkook tilted his head, then said quietly, "I'm grateful we can do this together, Hyung. Travel, work, and share little moments like this." Jimin turned his head and looked at Jungkook with a warm smile. "Me too. Sometimes moments on the plane like this are the ones I remember the most. No cameras, no stage, just us waiting to get to the destination." That made Jungkook smile softly. He nodded, then patted Jimin's hand slowly. "Thank you for always being there, Hyung." Jimin replied with a small laugh. "Why are you so sentimental? We haven't landed yet," he teased. Jungkook chuckled, then turned back to the window. "I don't know. Maybe because I'm happy. Excited about what we're going to do in Japan, excited to travel with you, and excited that things are going well." The sound of the aircraft's engines was heard a little louder as the landing gear began to be lowered. Subtle vibrations are felt under their feet. Jimin grabbed his phone, opened the front camera, then pointed at the two of them. "A little photo before landing?" he asked. Jungkook immediately approached, making a simple pose with a big smile. Jimin pressed the camera button, and a small click marked one more saved moment in their journey. "We look tired but happy," Jimin commented as he looked at the photo. Jungkook nodded in agreement. "That's because it is." A second announcement sounded, asking all passengers to make sure seat belts are fastened and seats are in an upright position. Jungkook corrected the back of his seat, then tightened his seatbelt. Jimin did the same, then took a deep breath. Finally, he said slowly. The plane began to swoop slowly, and the sound of wind friction was heard on the fuselage. Jungkook closed his eyes for a moment, then opened them again, looking even more excited. Hyung, do you think we could go for a walk? He asked. Jimin smiled. If the schedule allows, we can definitely steal time. 15 minutes around the hotel. That was enough to make Jungkook happy. He nodded many times. As long as we can go out for a while, breathe Japanese air, and buy drinks from vending machines, he said. Jimin laughed a little. You and the Japanese vending machine, an inseparable combination. The vibration is further felt when the wheels of the aircraft come into contact with the runway. Jungkook reflexively held onto the back of a chair, then chuckled as he mixed feelings of relief and pleasure. Jimin looked at him. We're here, he said in a voice full of warmth. The plane slowed down, and a small clap of applause was heard from some of the passengers. Jungkook sighed in relief, then turned to Jimin with a big smile. We're really in Japan now. Jimin nodded, his eyes sparkling. Yes. A new round begins again. In that simple moment, there was no camera spotlight, no grand stage, and no cheering of thousands of people. Only two friends sat side by side on the plane, happy to have arrived safely and looking forward to the next days. For Jungkook and Jimin, this landing is not just the end of a flight, but the beginning of a new story they will live together in Japan, with light hearts and smiles that never leave their faces. The plane continued to accelerate slowly on the runway, and Jungkook leaned forward slightly, as if wanting to see more clearly out the window. The lights of the airport began to appear, neatly lined up like a line of light that welcomed their arrival. Jimin patted his thigh slowly, then let out a long sigh, an expression of relief clearly visible on his face. It always feels soothing when the wheels of the plane have touched the ground, he said softly. Jungkook nodded in agreement. Yes, it feels like all the tension during the flight is instantly gone, he replied with a small smile. He glanced at Jimin, his eyes shining. Hyung, we have arrived safely. I'm always grateful for moments like this. Jimin turned his head and smiled warmly. You always do so after landing, he teased. Jungkook laughed a little. Yes, because I always felt that travel was something special. We move places, meet new people, and make new memories. The plane finally stopped perfectly on the apron. The seat belts were still on, but some passengers were already half standing, impatiently waiting for permission to disembark. Jungkook sat quietly and pulled out his phone. He opened the gallery and saw the selfie they had just taken before landing. Geez, that picture was funny. We look like school children who are on a study tour, he said while showing the screen to Jimin. Jimin laughed quietly. That's right too. Maybe we should keep this safe. One day we will look back and remember how happy we were today. Jungkook nodded seriously, then pressed the favorite button on the photo. I'll keep this forever. The announcement was heard that the plane had arrived at its destination and the passengers were asked to remain seated until the seatbelt sign was turned off. Jungkook leaned his head back for a moment, then stared at the ceiling of the cabin. Hyung, do you think the fans out there already know we're arriving? He asked. Jimin smiled faintly. It must have been. They always know everything faster than us. This made Jungkook laugh a little. That's right too. Maybe now there is already a hashtag about us landing in Japan. Jimin is pissed. But for these few minutes, we still have our own little moments before everyone gets busy again. The seatbelt light finally went out, and a clicking sound was heard throughout the cabin. Passengers began to stand up, taking small suitcases from the upper compartment. Jungkook stood up and helped Jimin grab his jacket. Here, he said, handing me the jacket. Jimin accepted with a smile. Thank you, Jungkook. You're always attentive. They walked slowly down the aisle of the plane. Jungkook paused for a moment, turning to the chair where they were sitting earlier. I always felt there was something sentimental about leaving an airplane seat, he said. Jimin looked at her with a little surprise. You are a real romantic for trifles.